Hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be the first in a series of videos that I'm going to try to do, focusing on some of my favorite series or runs from the 1970s. Like stuff that I really enjoyed as a kid. This is just going to be random stuff I'm going to pull out. Might be DC, Marvel, Harvey, Charlton, Atlas. Just might be magazines. Hopefully you'll be entertained, and a lot of the info I have, I think I remembered a whole lot of it. I went back and reread a lot of this stuff. And some of it I kind of had to research a little bit. But for the most part, stuff from the 70s, I kind of remember it real well because I just had like a little small stack of comics starting out, and so I read them over and over and over. And I've still got most of my original copies of this stuff, and some of it I've upgraded, and I only had like maybe a couple of issues missing in this run that I had to pick up at a later date. But anyway, the first series that I will focus on from 1975, DC, is The Joker. This was just a really short 9-issue series. DC and Marvel both had a lot of short-lived series, and I think they were trying to capitalize on the popularity of the Joker and all the Batman fans and all that. This is my original copy. It's pretty well loved, as I like to say. Actually, most of my well-loved copies look a whole lot worse than this, so this one's actually in pretty decent shape. But this book, if anybody, and I know a lot of you read the 70s stuff by O'Neill and Neil Adams, and this is not quite as dark in tone as like some of the O'Neill and Adams stuff. There'll still be like a few killings now and then. I mean, it is the Joker after all, but for the most part, it's kind of lighthearted and just a kind of a fun little comic. This first issue, number 1, it's got a great Dick Giordano cover. And in all these books, there's always like a one main antagonist or protagonist, that the Joker's going against. I think in the first issue it's Two-Face. So you got a great cover by Dick Giordano. I think the interiors was by Irv Novick and probably Giordano on the inks. But a fun little read. I might have another one besides this, but this is my high grade copy. This is probably like a 9.0 or a 9.2. I need to put this one in Mylar. But a really fun story. Here we have Joker number 2, and this cover is by Ernie Chan, or Chua as he went by in the 70s, and Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, which was a really fine artist that showed up in the mid-70s. And the main protagonist in this one is Willie the Weeper, and I had never heard of this character before. I mean, I don't know if he has like an early Silver Age appearance. Sorry about that glare. But it's always the Joker going against some other character, and they kind of make the Joker almost look like a good guy in a way. In some of these, he's got his own hideaway, and I think that in the letters pages is called the Hacienda. So, like I said, light in tone, but some really cool little stories. Here's a better copy of that. Like I say, Ernie Chan and Garcia Lopez on the cover, O'Neill on the script, and Irv Novick, and actually Garcia Lopez on the inks in this one. So nice little read. Okay, another copy of number 2. Actually, I had 3 of those. Okay, probably my favorite cover of the whole series. Number 3. I guess starting the Creeper. Like I say, this one is well loved. Got a great Dick Giordano cover. You can probably tell a little bit better in this copy that I upgraded years later. But a great Giordano cover. I love the Creeper. I always thought this was a good dynamic. You have 2 crazy guys going against each other. So very cool there. And that was more Chan and Garcia Lopez art in that one. Number 4, another Ernie Chan cover with appearances by Green Arrow, and a very helpless-looking Dinah Lance, a.k.a. Black Canary, which I really, when I was a kid, I didn't understand this because, Black Canary was a member of the Justice League, and I was like, how did she let the Joker get a drop on her? Like he walks into her flower shop and puts her out with some gas or something, in her secret identity, and I don't think he really knows that she is Black Canary, but he just decides that he wants her for his woman, apparently. But yeah, there's a, like I said, I even cut a face out of the top of that one when I was a kid. But luckily, I had a great copy. There you go. And on the art, got Garcia Lopez on the pencils and Mr. Hackjob himself, Vince Colletta. Sorry, all you Colletta fans, I am just not an admirer of the guy's work. I know he did a lot of Kirby stuff, but I couldn't get into anything that he did any kind of artwork on. I always kept thinking, even when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, there's that Colletta guy again. I'm not really a fan of his work. But really cool comic, great Chan cover. I think this was written by Elliot Maggin, who actually did a lot of Superman stories in the 70s, and I think he wrote a few issues of the Justice League in the mid-70s. Number 5, this is guest starring the Royal Flush Gang. Now, this is one of the 2 copies that I didn't pick up when I was a kid because, as anybody knows that was raised up in the 60s and 70s, distribution was kind of spotty, and you really couldn't get your monthly titles every month because it just depended on where you were and what mom and pop stores or drug stores you scoured around to find this stuff. So this is actually a copy I had to pick up later on, when I started ordering back issues. That's the only issue of this I have. It's probably I don't know, maybe a VG plus, fine minus. Need to upgrade this one. But another great Ernie Chan cover. And when I first started collecting, and Ernie Chan started doing a lot of the covers for DC, I wasn't really a fan because I was used to Neil Adams and Bernie Wrightson and Kurt Swan and Mike Grell, and all these guys had this slick, polished art style. But the more I saw him, the more I just kind of looked forward to seeing this guy. Of course, Ernie Chan did a lot of Conan and did a lot of Batman too on the interiors. But I really just grew to love all of his covers from the 70s. Need to upgrade this one. And that one was written by Martin Pasco, who was a mainstay at DC for several years in the 70s. Excuse me for a minute. Oh, one more thing about this one. The pencil's by Irv Novick, and of course he did a lot of Batman stuff, and Flash, and a lot of other stuff for DC. But the inker on this is a guy by the name of Tex Blaisdell. And if you haven't heard that name before, he probably got his start in the strips. I mean, he worked on probably 12, 13 syndicated strips, probably from the, 40s and 50s on up through the early 70s. And he actually did the backgrounds for Hal Foster on Prince Valiant, and probably did everything except render the faces on that 60s stuff from Prince Valiant. And also, he took over Little Orphan Annie strip about 1968, I do believe. Cool thing about that, when I was researching Tex Blaisdell, of course later on, he did a lot of inking on World's Finest and Superman and Batman and a lot of that stuff. But one of the interesting things I found about, there's a YouTube video in the old game show called To Tell the Truth. They say, well, I'm John Wayne. No, I'm John Wayne. I'm John Wayne, whatever. But, he was actually a part of that panel, who's the real Tex Blaisdell. So if you can search that out, just search out To Tell the Truth. I think that's the name of the game show. And just type in Tex Blaisdell. It's Blaisdell, I do believe. But, interesting little side note there for anybody that's interested. Okay, and here's another one that I bought later that I missed when I was a kid. I actually have 2 copies of this. But you have the Joker. It's number 6. It's Joker and Sherlock Holmes. And another Ernie Chan cover. Denny O'Neil on the script. More Novick and Blaisdell art. Pretty cool story. Them two trying to outguess and outfox each other. Another high grade copy. I always liked the way Ernie Chan signed his name. with the little EC down at the bottom. Okay, moving on. Number 7. And if the Joker, you got to have the obligatory Lex Luthor appearance. So, number 7, another great Ernie Chan cover. And somehow their personalities get switched in this one, and Joker is the serious one, and Luthor is the crazy one, as you can see there. Like I said, more great Chan artwork. You got a cameo by Hal Jordan for all you Green Lantern completists. And what I thought was funny about this one, there is a gang of villains in this one called the Mountebank Malefactors. Now, don't ask me, I don't know if that's the first and only, first and only appearance of those guys, but I just thought that was a real fascinating name, the Mountebank Malefactors. There's something else about this one. Oh yeah, on the ink, got another Magan story in this, and Novick does the pencils, and Frank McLaughlin was a long-time inker for DC. The reason I knew McLaughlin so well was he inked all of Dick Dillon's stories on, except for a few that Giordano inked a lot of Dick Dillon's JLA stories in the 70s and early 80s. And another good side note here is I think Frank McLaughlin was like the creator of the Judo Master for Charlton, because he worked for Charlton for a long time, maybe in the 60s and early 70s. So another little bit of trivia there. Yeah, that one's pretty chewed up. Just keep it around for nostalgia's sake. Here's the high grade copy. A little Ernie Chan signature down there. Okay. Number 8. Another great Ernie Chan cover, guest starring the Scarecrow. Another L.A. Magan story with more Novick and Blaisdell artwork on the inside. And this is part of the DC Comics salutes the bicentennial. You had like all these comics, just kind of randomly numbered from 1 through I think 31 or 32, and you could collect all the you could cut off the tops and collect them all and send them in, and you would get like a Superman belt buckle. I tried collecting all of them. Like I say, distribution was spotty when I was a kid, and I think I missed like 10 of the issues. So I basically ruined a bunch of my comics by taking the top part off, and I didn't get the belt buckle either. But if anybody knows someone that has that belt buckle, I would actually like to see one. I don't know if I'd want to buy it, but I'd actually like to see one because I didn't get it. Like I say, really cool Ernie Chan cover. I like the way he rendered the Scarecrow there. More Blaisdell inks on the inside. And here's the high grade copy. So probably only got one that I need to upgrade. That'll be number 5, I think. Okay, in the last issue, guest starring Catwoman, number 9. Another cool Ernie Chan cover. More Magan script. Novick and Blaisdell on the inks. And I think that's about all there is on this one. Here is the high grade copy that I have. Really need to rebag a lot of these because a lot of these are probably VF plus to near mint, and I just need to get them rebagged. Okay, that's it for that series. Another little interesting thing I've got here to close this one out. DC fans, hardcore DC fans that were reading in the 70s, knew all about the DC explosion, aka implosion. And there's a lot of stories and a lot of art, a lot of stories written, a lot of art that was turned in for books that never made it to the shelves. Because in '78 there was like a big horrible blizzard, especially in the Northeast, and a lot of DC's comics didn't get shipped on time, and so that just led to them really losing their rear end, and they had to cancel a lot of titles. So a lot of the art that was supposed to go into new titles and expanded versions, of these books never made it to print. And DC fans will have heard of the CCC, the Canceled Comics Cavalcade, and all it was just they made 35 copies that had Xeroxed copies of that artwork that were meant for those books that never made it to print. They just kind of distributed them through to the DC staffers and writers and artists. And I've actually got it's either a second or third generation set of those Xerox copies. One cool thing about that, before I get to this last piece, anybody that's a Commandy fan know that there's a series coming out called the Commandy Challenge, and there's going to be one called the Commandy Challenge Special. It reprints Commandy 32, but it also reprints the two stories that didn't get published, Commandy 61 or Commandy 60 and 61. That I've got the copies of it. It's actually going to see print here in the next few months, or a couple months or whatever. So really pleased about that. I'll get to see what it looks like in color, and I'm probably going to do a video sometime or other where I get those copies, and I'll just kind of show those if anybody's interested in seeing that. But one of the casualties, I'm guessing slow sales, or it was part of the implosion, was the Joker series. Okay, they stopped it with 9. And there wasn't any art or a story written for number 10, but there actually was a cover done. And so this is a copy of the original artwork that was supposed to be for Joker number 10. Okay, and it was supposed to be the Joker versus the Justice League. So you have Joker carrying Wonder Woman off, and you have Black Canary and Flash and Green Arrow coming after them. Of course, that's more great Ernie Chan artwork. I just love this. And then... excuse me, getting a little dry. And a real interesting note about this, the first convention that I ever went to in Columbus, Ohio, the Mid-Ohio Con, a dealer had this piece of original artwork for sale in his booth. And I saw that, and I flipped out. I was like, if I had a couple, $300 more, I would have bought that piece and forgot about buying any comics. I would have been a happy camper. But I did actually see the real piece, the original artwork for this cover, and one of those dealers had that for sale, and I just didn't have the cash. Wish I did. There's no telling what that's worth now, or what somebody won't sell it for. But I thought that was really interesting. Really, probably will go on with number 3 as like my favorite cover, even though it didn't get published. So pretty cool. Now you can get all these Joker issues. I think they put out a trade of all these, maybe around 2003, and so you can get that. And the series really isn't that expensive to collect. I think in the guide, I think issue number 1 in Intermit is like $100, but you can find a really decent to mid to high grade copy probably for $30 or $40 online. And the rest of them really won't be all that much. So if you're interested in the Joker, you're a Joker completist, Batman fanatic or whatever, cool little series. That's all I got for right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll be pulling out another random series or run the next week. And glad you tuned in, and we'll see you soon. Onward and upward.